Hi guys, welcome here. If you're new here, my name is Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Love Knits. We're sitting down for another podcast today, and I'm very excited to do so because while I haven't been very active over on social media or on the internet for the last couple of weeks, that doesn't mean I haven't been knitting. I've been knitting a lot, so I have some finished objects to share and some exciting new whips that I've been really into lately. So I'm excited to talk about all of that. It's been a very interesting day. I've wanted to sit down and chat for a while now, not just today, but in days past, but it just hasn't been working out. And I finally found maybe a short amount of time that I will be able to share with you guys what I'm working on. So I'm very excited to do so. So let's just get into it. As you can see, I have a finished object on. It's another ranunculus. I cannot believe I've made two of these, let alone one. I can't believe I made the first one, but I loved the first one so much that I had to immediately cast on a second. So I actually have the first one here. I've gotten a lot of compliments on this sweater, not just online, but also in person, and I think it's a real hit, this ranunculus. I've always liked the way that it looked, but it was never really something for me, I thought, but I was so wrong. And this has become one of my most worn pieces in my closet for this season because we've had a very interesting summer. I thought this would kind of be a waste because in spring, it kind of seemed like it was going to get pretty hot this summer, and in summers past it's been blazing, but we've had less than 20 degrees for the last 2 weeks and just solid rain. So actually this thick knit t-shirt is perfect. It's very thick because I knit it with 2 strands of Knitting for Olive merino in the cream colorway. These were some stash skeins that I had, or leftover skeins, and I loved the fabric so much that I decided I wanted to cast another one. So I had some more Knitting for Olive. This was brown nougat, and I've talked about this colorway so much, but I had 2.5 skeins of this yarn. For the cream, I had 3 skeins. So this is a very cropped sweater. It's still cute, but it is very cropped. It hits just at like high-waisted jeans, and then this is kind of like a cap sleeve. So with 3 skeins, that's the kind of sweater that I made. So I don't know why when I cast it on, I was like, oh yeah, I have 2.5 skeins of brown nougat. That should be great. No, I think I knew in the back of my mind that I was gonna have to figure out what I was gonna do with that, either buy another skein or find something else in my stash, which is what I really wanted to do. And as you can kind of see, actually it's not as obvious as I thought it might be, but I got past the yoke and a little bit of the body, and then I ran out of yarn of the Knitting for Olive. So I was looking through my stash because I really didn't want to buy yarn. The whole point was I was trying to get rid of stuff that was already in my stash. And I came across yarn that I had dyed last year with avocado pits. And I'm trying to find the leftover yarn so I can show you guys. That's not it. I know it's in here. Okay, here it is. So this is actually Drops Flora. Shocking, but held together is about the same, makes about the same fabric as Knitting for Olive. The only difference is that you can see it's a little hairier. So this is a lot smoother, and then if you look really closely, the Drops Flora just has a little bit more hair going for it. I don't know if you can see that, but it actually worked out perfectly. I saw the color, so the color is what made me think, I'll give this a try. Anyway, I didn't really feel like I had much to lose because it was just kind of like a fun, let's see how it goes kind of project. So I didn't really mind all that much. And if I didn't like it, I didn't spend all that much time on it. So it really wasn't anything lost. But I was really happy to get some use out of this because I find that this is such a beautiful color. So I dyed this last year with avocado pits, and I used a lot of avocado pits, much more than probably what would be needed. I probably wasted a lot of dye, but that's how I make sure that I get this really pretty color. It's like a rose goldish kind of tone. You can definitely see it's very pink when you actually compare it to brown, because when you look at it on its own, you think like, hey, maybe that's kind of like a brownish pink, but then when you compare it to brown, you can really see that it is actually a really lovely shade of pink. So when I was knitting it, I was like, this could actually work. So when I saw it, I thought this actually is a really good match for the brown nougat. Yeah, it's a little pink, but I didn't think it was going to be all that stark. And then when I was knitting on it, it was very, very obvious, to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, did I just make a mistake? Like, what am I going to do? Now, I actually really love it. I didn't know how I was going to feel about this color blocking. I'll bring this up here so you can see. Yeah, like it's really obvious. Maybe if I go back. Yeah. I like it. At first I thought, this is gonna look really weird. It's not so different that it's very obvious that you're trying to color block. It's just like a very subtle difference. It's not subtle enough for you not to notice, but it's too subtle for it to kind of look purposeful. So I was worried that it was gonna look like strange in that way. So I even went to the craft store and bought some brown dye to potentially do like an ombre kind of thing. But in the end, when I finished and blocked it, I just decided that I wanted to embrace it. And I think I'm really happy that I did. I'm happy that I didn't try to overcorrect. And maybe if I put it in the dye, I would have ruined it and absolutely hated it. I'm just happy that I stuck with what it looks like now. I think it works really well. And I'm happy that I was able to use this yarn. So I had 2 skeins of the Drops Flora all dyed up, and this is what's left over. That yarn doesn't go very far. As you can see, I've barely used anything. So I think if I would have knitted on its own, I probably would have only gotten the yoke. But I would really recommend this yarn for the Ranunculus. It drapes really nicely. As you can see, this sweater has a great drape to it. And it fits so much different than my other Ranunculus, which is weird because I think I did the same thing. At least for the start, the neckline just sits so differently. This is much wider. This one is much closer to my neck. And I think maybe I did more rows in the ribbing for the neckline, but I didn't think that would really make that much of a difference, but maybe it does. Other things that I did with this pattern, I actually changed. I didn't follow the instructions for this little bit right here because I mentioned last time that I didn't like the chain. I do like the chain. Now that I've made this, I do like the chain. So this is what I'm talking about, this little chain right here. I think it's like pearls and things that you do to make more of like a little chain. I just thought when I first did it that it didn't really match the pattern. I just thought, I don't know, something about it just didn't seem to fit for me. What I decided to do instead is alternate ribbing. So I did 1 by 1 rib, and then I did a knit row, and then I alternated and did purl 1, knit 1. So I did knit 1, purl 1, knit a full round, then purl 1, knit 1. And it made more of like a, I don't know, a subtle texture. It's just not as obvious. I like it. I like it too. I'm just happy that the Ranunculus is so easy to modify in that way. And yeah, I'm very pleased with the second one. Very interesting how differently they fit because I don't really think I did anything to make it bigger, but this one is very drapey. I used the same yarn too for the yoke part, so it's very interesting that it fits so much differently. But that's my second ranunculus, and I think I'm done making this kind of a ranunculus. I don't know, maybe I'll modify something. I did have an idea for another kind of modification of the ranunculus, and maybe I'll go for it just because I really love the way that this fits and it's so easy to put on. But do I need the same kind of like lace yoke pattern on a bunch of different tops? Likely no. And I think this is kind of the same problem that I've seen other podcasters get into who really enjoy knitting the ranunculus. At some point you're just like, well, I've knit it so many times. I enjoy the knit, but I have too many. So I think I'm gonna join that group very soon because I enjoy it. So yeah, that's my ranunculus and my first finished object. Another finished object that I wanted to follow up on, I'm considering it finished even if it looks like this. It's just been hanging out on Arthur's toy shelf. It's his little crochet baby blanket that I was using with little colorful scraps. And it looks awesome. I really love the way that it looks. It smells so good. It smells like sheep. I need to wash it. But you know, it's too warm for him to really be using such a woolly blanket. So, I mean, I haven't really gone through much. I haven't made many attempts to kind of finish it and weave in the ends or anything like that. I just think I was just happy to get it to a place where I'm ready to go and move on to something else. But this was a really fun project to do. Like I've mentioned many times, it was just an enjoyable thing to kind of pick up in the evenings and work with some color, and it was really inspiring to pick out at random the next colors that I wanted to use to create such a fun blanket. So the next step will be to weave in those ends, but there's really not much more to say. I just wanted to tell you guys that it's considered finished for now. I did play around, or mentioned that I will play around with the idea of continuing to add to it as he grows up, and the blanket will get bigger as he gets older. I think that would be really cute if I have the same, yarn that works well. So this is like a finished for now kind of project, and it was so much fun. I haven't started any other crochet projects, but I have plans. So I will be doing another blanket very soon. And I think kind of along the same vein, I don't know if I have it in me for another granny square blanket, because each row just gets so longer and longer, and I don't know. Granny squares will be fun, I think, to kind of piece together to make one larger blanket. But I don't really have the time to get started on that just yet. I do have some other projects that that I have on my to-do list that I'm gonna share with you guys in a second. So crochet will have to wait a little bit until I get a little bit further on those projects. But yeah, I have told you guys that I want to do a throw for our bedroom, and I think that would be really nice to do with some of the remaining woolly knit cones, which is what I used. I used woolly knit cones, and I have so many leftovers, so I'm sure that I will be able to use it. But I think it works really well, actually, crocheted. I enjoyed it, that wool. I enjoy knitting with it, and I enjoy crocheting with it now too, so definitely check them out if you're interested. But yeah, that's the second finished object. The third one, because I have so many, it's just crazy, is one that I just flew through. I feel like I need to show you another one that I don't have. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a finished object that I have, but I'm not going to really go into detail or show it to you really, because I have a dedicated video that I want to post sharing the process, just the behind the scenes, so you can see it being made in video form. That is the Luca cardigan from the Making Memories pattern book. So I have the Making Memories pattern book here, and I can show you the Luca cardigan, but I'm not going to go into too many details about it. This was kindly sent over to me from the UKnit team in Canada, And this is the Luca cardigan. This is a brand new knitting pattern book that was released earlier this year. And there are so many beautiful patterns for little babies and young children that you should definitely check out. I'm sure all of them are listed on Ravelry if you wanted to look at the individual patterns. But the Luca cardigan is a really beautiful little textured cardigan. It's in some kind of, it's not broken rib, but it's a series of knits and purls, like knit 2, purl 2, and then you have a garter bump section. It's really cool. So I just really loved the way that where's the camera? I really loved the way that the fabric turned out with the little texture, and I think it just looks so cute. So it's all finished, and I will show you guys in more detail in a separate video. But that was something that took a while. I've been working on this for about like 2 months, maybe a little bit more. And it was through when we were traveling and everything. It was one of those projects that I had on the needles that whole time. And obviously because we were traveling and my attention to it just wavered from, you know, enjoying time with family and then losing my train of thought. I'm so sorry. Basically, that took a really long time. And there was a point in the project where I had a freak out moment, considering it had taken me such a long time and I was trying to make a video about it. I thought, I don't know what happened, but I had like this fear that, oh my gosh, the stitch count is wrong. And I had finished the body. And I was getting to the ribbing and I was like, wait a minute, my numbers are off. So I had like this moment where I was like, am I going to frog all of this now and start over? Like, I'm sure you've been there in a project where you're just like, what am I gonna do? Am I really gonna do that? I have to make a decision. So whenever that happens to me, I have to just put it in a corner and kind of sleep on it, give it a couple of days, which is exactly what I did. I'm sure you're the same. And anyways, that's where this comes in. So this is the Sugar Boo Bralette by Kadri. And it's just a little bralette. This was a week's worth of knitting while I was trying to decide what the heck was I gonna do about that cardigan. So a little bit of drama helped me pick up, cast on a new project and finish one. So this is actually yarn that I got in the US from one of the stores on my yarn haul. There's not really a lot in South Carolina. If you watch the yarn haul video, I mentioned that it's kind of a warm weather place. If you're not familiar, I went to Hilton Head, South Carolina. So there's only like 2 big box stores, Michael's and Hobby Lobby there, and then there's 1 local yarn store. From everything that I could find with my research. Since posting that video, I found out that some of you actually live over there and gave me some good recommendations for the next time, which I'm very excited to check out next time. But those are the 3 shops that I went to, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and it's called Needlepoint Junction. And I got something at every single one. And this is the one that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. So it's the Yarn Bee, I don't know, it's kind of similar to hand-dyed. It looks like it's hand-dyed, which is the only reason I picked it up is because it kind of gave me that kind of feeling. It was a little bit more special looking. What do I think about it? It's not really all that great. It's not really all that bad. It's kind of forgettable, if that makes sense. The colorways, at least that I saw, kind of varied. And this was an interesting, nice nude color. I think it works really well as a bralette, which is exactly what I thought about when I saw it. I was like, hey, if I just pick up one skein, I could make a bralette. That would be a really fun kind of memory project. And I think it's exactly what it should be used for, because the yarn, what I mean by it not being so great is that there's not much twist to it, and it's definitely going to pill a lot. It's already pilling a little bit, and I've barely worn this thing. So, and I have a lot of ends to still weave in, and I did some weird stuff here with knots. I messed up with the pickup, and I have a very, very small amount of yarn to weave in. I don't think I will, so I'm just gonna leave it knotted like that, and whatever, it's a bralette, so no one's really gonna see it after this video. So yeah, I've worn it maybe once or twice just to like kind of try it on even, and it's already being pilled, which is such a shame. So I wouldn't really recommend that yarn, and that's it. So the pattern, on the other hand, I would recommend. I'm probably not the first and definitely not the last person to knit the Sugar Brew Bralette by Kadri. I've seen so many people knit it up, and I've heard really great reviews, so I thought that that would be a safe one to cast on. I think I purchased it a long time ago, and like whenever it came out, maybe that was like 2 years ago, and I finally got to knitting it, which was really great. So I really enjoyed it, and I even have some yarn set aside for another one potentially. Either that, or I would do Naked Knits Everyday Bra, which is something that I've also been meaning to cast on and knit up. And the fact that this was just such a quick knit makes it for me to be like, okay, yeah, I definitely need to knit another one, because it was just such a fun detour knit. That's definitely what this was. It was like a little detour knit. And I thought it was pretty, like the instructions and everything, great. The only thing that I had trouble with was my measurements. So after having a baby and breastfeeding, my chest is not exactly what it used to be. So I did some measurements, and I fell between, like awkwardly between the small and the medium. So I was worried that if I knit the medium, it wouldn't give me enough, not support, but I didn't really want it to be loose, you know what I mean? So I decided to knit the small, and I kind of regret that. So I think next time I'm going to knit the medium, or I'm going to knit the small and make it a lot longer. I think I did it to the pattern recommendation, and it's just a little too short, so the ribbing just starts a little too soon. So if I could, I would actually do all of this in stockinette and then do some more ribbing and maybe make it more like a tank top. Or I could try the medium and see how that goes, but yeah, it's just, I was a little concerned. I shouldn't have done the small, because I just know that I used to be a small, and now my chest has changed a lot, so I should have done the medium, but something inside me was like, I don't know if that's right. I mean, a knitted bralette, thinking about it now, shouldn't be as tight as like a sports bra, so I should have just been like, okay, I need to allow myself that extra room. But it's still wearable. It's just not the most comfortable. So if I have the motivation, maybe I will revisit this and extend it. I have a little bit of yarn left. I knit it held together, so the yarn, I don't think I have it left over. But this yarn, I held 2 strands held together, knit it on size 4mm needles, I think is what the pattern calls for. And yeah, the fabric, if it wore nicely, I would be okay with it. But as you can see, I don't know if you can. There's some pilling already. It's a shame. But yeah. It doesn't exactly match my skin tone, but it's good enough for, you know, something like this even, like my ranunculus, having something nude colored underneath. will work out really nicely. So happy that I cast that on and got it off the needles. So that leads me into whips. So those were all of my finished objects. I didn't show one, but I will show it separately from the Making Memories book. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 finished objects, which I'm very proud of. Now, moving into whips, 2 things that I have been working on actively, and then 1 thing that's upcoming. So I cast on another skein that I picked up from the US. This is Nomadic yarn. I am not prepared. I can't remember it's a rainbow colorway from her. Nomadic Yarn's rainbow. Is it Reading Rainbow? On the yak base. I wish I had the tag. But this is something that I had been dreaming about for a while, was working with Nomadic Yarn's self-striping yarn to work up some socks. And I've got my socks on, and I'm really loving the self-striping effect. I think it looks so great. My mind is always blown, especially, I imagine like with big box brands, they use like some computer generated way of making these self-striping fabrics. With an indie dyer, I'm just blown away. I don't know how she does it. Maybe she does the same, I don't know. But I'm really impressed with the consistency of the stripes. I think it looks great, and then the color is something that I really love, because what drew me to this skein was the fact that it is a yak sock yarn. So there's I think it's 20% of yak in it, which makes the colors so much more muted than the original colorway. So I will definitely leave a link to her shop, so you could potentially find this. And if I can find this one and it's not sold out, I will add that into, so you can see the original color and how much how much it changes when it's on the yak. I just really love it. So I'm doing a vanilla sock, just my usual, but this time I decided to do 2x2 ribbing all around. And I'm trying to decide what I want to do for the heel. I think I'll probably do my regular German short row heel, or maybe look up something different. I haven't really decided yet what might look good with this. Using Arwetta for the ribbing up at the top, just a 1x1 rib. And I don't know how many rows that is. I get questions about how many rows I do on my cuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I did 13 this time. It's usually I just knit and then I decide, hey, that looks good. I don't know how long I'm gonna make the legs of this one. I don't really see myself needing another pair of this, so there's no need for me to have leftover, basically is what I'm saying. So I'm probably gonna knit a pretty long leg than usual, because normally I do shorty socks and then I'm left with so much yarn left over. So I think I'll knit the majority of this because I need to. It's so beautiful. I really love it. It looks so, it's crazy when it's in cake form and then you just see the fabric that it makes. It's really beautiful. I love, love, love the purple and this like seaweed green. I just think it looks really cool. So I've gone through all of the different colors in the stripe. You can see it's like gold, seaweed green, purple, teal, a tan, and a red. It looks beautiful. So I definitely recommend it. It's really fun to work with, and I always just love self-striping yarn because it's just fun to see how the sock turns out, how it grows. It really helps my sock knitting mojo. So this is just something that I have, my sock project. The other thing, I've got a garment on the needles now that was inspired by the recent cast off from the Making Memories book. So like I said, the Luca cardigan is a very textured cardigan, and I was kindly gifted a kit from Knit and Wear, which is a company that sells knitting kits that are pretty basic and I think fairly beginner friendly. And I think they're partnered with Rowan yarn because all of their kits are offered with Rowan yarn. So I think it's some kind of subsect from that. I'm not 100% sure, but I got this cardigan. It's the clay cardigan, and it's a textured knit. So when I got this kit, it came in a huge box and it had everything that you need. You have the skeins of yarn, of course, you have the instruction book, you have labels and things that you would need to finish up your garment. And yeah, it was really great. I was interested in receiving the kit because I started out knitting using kits so that I would see what the finished garment would look like. I got the kit and I knew that I had everything that I needed, and I was ready to go. So I was interested in giving this one a try because it's my roots, and I haven't worked on a kit in a long time, so I was really excited about this. And I need cardigans in my wardrobe, and I thought this one was very interesting. I hadn't seen anything like it. So it's a broken rib stitch that looks very similar to, it looks very similar to fisherman's rib or brioche from far away, but it's not. It's really interesting. Let me bring out the thing I'm working on. So I'm working on the back panel. This is all paneled, which again is something that I haven't done in a really long time, is a paneled garment that I will have to seam together, which, let me tell you, I'm not very excited about that, but it is what it is. So here's the right side. It looks from far away like fisherman's rib, but it's actually broken rib. So you have a knit stitch right here, and then you see like a broken rib, like almost moss stitched kind of thing, and then a purl. It's so interesting. It looks like a folded fan, if you know, like folded piece of paper that you turn into a fan, right? Doesn't it look like that? Like when I stretch it out a little bit, and then it goes back in. It's so cool. So that's really why I was really excited about this garment, because I had never seen anything in this stitch pattern before, at least that I didn't realize that I had seen it before. So this is just a really cool look. And so I'm not really big on matching Arthur. Like I get a lot of questions like, oh, are you gonna make a matching Ingrid sweater? Which I might, but matching, I don't know, other things, matching sweaters and things. It's never really something that I'm super into, or it's not like a bucket list thing. But then after finishing that and knowing that I had this kit to work on, the two are kind of similar in color, and then they're both textured cardigans that I thought like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this to match Arthur. So yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. Like I said, the stitch pattern is really just mind-blowing to me, and I just really love the way that it looks, and that it's different from what I'm used to seeing. I'm used to seeing a lot of fisherman's rib, and then I see some brioche, but this is different, and it's so easy. It's crazy how it all comes together like that. It never ceases to amaze me how knits and purls can be used in so many different ways, and it's so easy, but it looks complicated. You know what I mean? Yeah. So this is the back panel. I've got a lot to do, but I'm excited. I'm interested to see how far this takes me. Oh. I'm sure you can't hear that, but Arthur woke up from his nap. So that means I have to say goodbye. I was talking for quite a long time. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope I didn't talk your ear off, because I feel like I just like charged through, but we did have a lot to cover. So I'm happy that I was able to sit down even for this short little while, and I hope you guys got a few rows in on whatever it is you're working on. So thanks so much for clicking on this video and sitting down and knitting and chatting with me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!